What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to look at another Mercenary. I showed you Mercenaries yesterday. I, for one, am extremely excited about Mercenaries. They are very, very exciting. They are very, very new to the Transformers trading card game. They're coming around in War for Cybertron Siege 2, and frankly, I am delighted. One thing I probably didn't make enough of a deal of in yesterday's video is that this is a change for Transformers as a whole. Transformers as a whole is introducing Mercenaries as a third faction alongside Autobots and Decepticons. It just so happens to be driven by and originating in the Transformers trading card game. Now, if you're as big of a fan as the game as I am, although I'd like to think there aren't too many people that can make that claim, do love this game, you will be delighted that it's actually making that much of a difference to the lore in general. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we need to look at another one, and one of them is both a secret rare or super rare and a triple changer. Yeah, we need to talk about Octone in this video. Super rare, triple changer, gotta be done. What do we know about Octone? Well, it is a 13-star character, which is gigantic, but then again, it's a triple changer, they tend to be. 17 health is great, it's really big. Defensive 2 in all three modes is fine, but not special. And the attack can either be 5, which is pretty good, or 6, which is really quite good. So pretty decent stat. Nothing out and out amazing given the 13-star cost, but nothing particularly terrible. But given that it is a mercenary, we're going to need a bounty skill, and the great news is we totally have one. In bot mode, when this does enough attack damage to KO an enemy, use this card's bounty ability, which of course is bounties in general. What does it do? Well, do 2 damage to an enemy. And the wording here is extremely important. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. It is Plasma Burst. That is to say, you can put that 2 damage anywhere you like. Now compare that to something like Nemesis Prime's ability, whereby your opponent chooses a character to take the 2 damage. That is nowhere near as good, because your opponent could say something like Ironhide. Well, the problem is that Ironhide cannot take non-attack damage, so if your opponent chooses to take the damage onto Ironhide, they don't actually take the damage. So it's much better to be able to direct that damage anywhere you need. So that's kind of cool. But of course, it is a triple changer, so we have 2 alternate modes. What alternate modes do we have? What do they actually do? Well, in Alt Mode 1, when you flip to this mode, your opponent chooses one of their Autobots and does 1 damage to it, and you get +3 attack while attacking an Autobot. Put simply, if you're facing down an Autobot deck, might I suggest being in Alt Mode 1. Incidentally, Alt Mode 1 and 2 have the exact same stats as each other, so it doesn't really make a difference which one you're in other than the skills. You do gain an attack in bot mode, and you really want to take your KOs in bot mode, because obviously in bot mode, when you take a KO, you get to do 2 damage anywhere you like. That's fairly important. Whereas if you take a KO in one of the other modes, you get the extra attack, but you don't get the bounty skill. It's a trade-off. Obviously, the way it really goes is, if you can get the KO without the extra attack, you want to be in bot mode so you can do the, what I like to refer to as cheeky damage. Whereas if you really need the extra attack to get the KO, although remember, there is always variance with this, because you're flipping over you're flipping over battle cards to look for orange icons, and your opponent is flipping over battle cards to look for blue icons, you never know exactly how much damage you're going to do. So it's always going to be a calculated risk. But if you think you need the extra damage, you want to be in alt mode 1 if you're against an Autobot. But if you think you can get the KO without it, you want to be in bot mode so you can get the bounty skill. Yes, obviously there are going to be games that are lost playing Octane. Octone, I should actually say. Used to be Octane, now it's Octone. There are going to be games lost by an Octone player. Probably several Octone players. Because they go, you know what? I'm going to go in bot mode. I want the bounty skill. And then they don't get the bounty skill because they're 1 damage short, and they would have got the KO and won the game if they'd have been in alt mode. Well, it's down to player skill, innit? So this is really, really cool. And the thing is, you can always just flick around to get the cheeky damage. Now, unfortunately, what I said about bot mode goes opposite for alt mode. Your opponent chooses one of their Autobots and does 1 damage to it. So, if they've got Captain Ironhide out, unfortunately, that will ruin it. And there are other things that can reduce it. But that's not important right now. What is important is, this is awesome. And if we flick into Alt Mode 2, we see a very, very similar thing. We have the same stats. When you flip to this mode, your opponent chooses one of their Decepticons and does 1 damage to it. This has +3 attack while attacking a Decepticon, which is cool. I do, however, have one reservation about this, and the reasoning is very simple. In Alt Mode 1, you're a melee character, whereas in Alt Mode 2, you're a ranged character. And this introduces a slight problem. Because let's say, for argument's sake, you want to go into a bold deck. So you go, right, I'm going bold, I'm a melee character, let's roll with Power Sword. If you want to do the same thing with Tough, then Body Armor, that's fine. Well, what do you do against a Decepticon deck? Because you're only a melee character in Alt Mode 1 when you're against the Autobots. So the obvious answer here is, well, you need to get into Alt Mode 1 when you have the Power Sword or Body Armor, then you attach it, and then you flick over into Alt Mode 2. Well, you can only flip once per turn. This is going to lead to awkwardness, and it's potentially worse for Alt Mode 2 because this is a character that really likes to ping cheeky damage around the field. Well, if you're a ranged character and you want to ping cheeky damage, you've got Armed Hovercraft. When you attach it, 1 damage counter to all of your opponent's characters. And Marksmanship, if you've got a ranged character on the field, you can do 2 damage to a character in bot mode. But what if you're against an Autobot deck? And Autobots have been getting the better of it lately. And you want to be pinging his cheeky damage around. Now you're in an awkward situation. Because you're only a ranged character in Alt Mode 2 when you're fighting against or looking to fight against Decepticons. This seems like a fairly awkward character, one that is going to take quite a lot of planning, or I suppose face Mercenaries in bot mode. But against Autobots you want Alt Mode 1, Decepticons Alt Mode 2, but then you've got melee and range coming in, which just make things a little bit more awkward. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is in bot mode you are a ranged character, so there's a very good chance you are just going to go ranged here and go, you know what? 2 of our 3 modes we're ranged, let's focus on that. But it's something that does need to be borne in mind. Also worth pointing out that you are a mercenary, which means that you don't get cards like Press the Advantage. Press the Advantage, wonderful card for Autobots. You pick an Autobot to get +2 attack, you pick a Decepticon to get -2 defense. That's pretty sweet. I suppose the one advantage is if you're playing against Press the Advantage, your opponent won't be able to drop your defense down because you're not a Decepticon, you are a mercenary. I mean, look, super rare cards are exciting, and triple changes are exciting, and mercenaries are new and therefore exciting. That's a lot of excitement in one card. As a man that loves cheeky damage, oh yes, I'm excited about this. This is my kind of card. I just think you need to be extremely careful how you play this and what mode you're in. But I'd like to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk about games like Transformers and any others. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can get weekly bonus pods and, support the channel if you're feeling in the mood. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.